Thank you all for being here today. It is the determination of the Science and Security Board of the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists that the world has not made sufficient progress on existential risks threatening all of humanity. We thus move the clock forward. In setting the clock closer to midnight, we send a stark signal. Because the world is already perilously close to the precipice, any move towards midnight should be taken as an indication of extreme danger and an unmistakable warning. Every second of delay in reversing course increases the probability of global disaster. It is now 89 seconds to midnight. This is the closest the world has ever been to midnight. Joining us to make this announcement are members of the Science and Security Board, Herb Lynn, Suzette McKinney, Robert Sokolow, and Manpreet Sethi, joining from India. We also welcome special guest Juan Manuel Santos, the former President of Colombia, Nobel Peace Laureate, and the Chair of the Elders. My name is Daniel Holtz, and I am the Chair of the Science and Security Board of the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists. We set the clock closer to midnight because we do not see sufficient positive progress on the global challenges we face, including nuclear risk, climate change, biological threats, and advances in disruptive technologies. The countries that possess nuclear weapons are increasing the size and role of their arsenals, investing hundreds of billions of dollars in weapons that can destroy civilization many times over. Meanwhile, arms control treaties are in tatters, and there are active conflicts involving nuclear powers. The world's attempts to deal with climate change remain inadequate, as most governments fail to enact the financing and policy initiatives necessary to halt global warming. 2023 was the hottest year on record, by far, and 2024 was even hotter. Advances in an array of disruptive technologies, including biotechnology, artificial intelligence, and in space, have far outpaced policy, regulation, and a thorough understanding of their consequences. All of these dangers are greatly exacerbated by a potent threat multiplier: the spread of misinformation, disinformation, and conspiracy theories that degrade the communication ecosystem and increasingly blur the line between truth and falsehood. A statement summarizing these concerns is now available at thebulletin.org. All of us need to help raise the alarm. Our fervent hope is that our political, civic, cultural, and business leaders take bold action to reduce these threats and turn back the hands of the Doomsday Clock. Before we turn to questions from the press, I'd like to ask the former President of Colombia, Nobel Peace Laureate, and current Chair of the Elders, Juan Manuel Santos, to share his perspective on the time of the Doomsday Clock.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This clock is a stark diagnosis of our reality. At 89 seconds to midnight, the Doomsday Clock stands closer to catastrophe than at any moment in its history. The clock speaks to the existential threats that confront us and the need for unity and bold leadership to turn back its hands. 2024 was the hottest year on record, unleashing devastating climate shocks that destroyed lives and livelihoods across the globe. The only effective response is for nations to work together, which is why it is so alarming that President Trump has signaled his intention to withdraw from the Paris Agreement. In this crucial year for climate action, we urge all other signatories to double down and reaffirm their commitment to meeting the Paris goals. The climate crisis is a force multiplier for instability and insecurity, amplifying the likelihood and severity of all other existential threats. The increase in outbreaks of infectious diseases we are already seeing is a dire indication that this deadly cascade effect has already begun. The U.S. announcement that it will withdraw from the World Health Organization is another worrisome decision that will have huge ramifications for the global health security. We all need a strong, independent, and accountable WHO to ensure successful reforms to pandemic prevention, preparedness, and response measures worldwide. We also need urgent actions to tackle the torrent of misinformation and the amplifications of conspiracy theories that have become so prevalent in our hyper-connected online world. This alarming rise in distrust is being fueled in large part by the malicious and reckless use of new technologies we do not yet fully understand. Artificial intelligence is racing ahead of our ability to govern it, despite the adoption of the Global Digital Compact at last year's UN Summit of the Future. AI's integration into military systems brings us to the precipice of new and unprecedented danger. Automated warfare in a world where states locked in deep rivalry collectively possess over 12,000 nuclear warheads. As we prepare to mark the 80th anniversary of the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the threat of nuclear conflict is at its highest level ever. The New START Treaty, the last remaining restraint on U.S. and Russian nuclear deployments, is set to expire in 1 year. This is another example of the erosion of the rules and norms underpinning the multilateral system, as nations prioritize self-interest and cynicism over the collective interest of humanity. I welcome President Trump's remarks in Davos about his desire to engage in talks with Russia and China to reduce the nuclear stockpile. He is right that the destructive capability of these weapons does not bear thinking about, and that they cost a tremendous amount of money. I hope he follows through. To those countries who want to see an end to the madness of nuclear proliferation, which has seen a 34% increase in spending in the last 5 years on nuclear weapons, with trillions more planned that could be spent on saving our planet or reducing poverty. I urge you to sign the treaty for the prohibition of nuclear weapons. Half of all the countries have signed it, so it has momentum. We also mark the 80th anniversary of the United Nations in 2025, and leaders must reflect on how far the world has strayed from the UN's founding principles. This is a bleak picture, but it is not yet irreversible. There is a big chance that this time next year we will be moving the hands of the clock back, not forward. But this will only happen if leaders engage in good faith dialogue. And recalling the words of Nelson Mandela, the founder of the Elders, the most powerful weapon in the world is to sit down and talk. The solutions we need to confront the existential threats we face are all connected by a simple truth. We can only succeed if we act as one. It is with great sadness that just a few weeks ago we said farewell to a true champion of this ideal, President Jimmy Carter, a founding member of the Elders. President Carter was driven by a profound moral clarity, so sorely missing among many leaders today. And in the weeks since I attended his funeral here in Washington, I have often been reminded of his words. The bond of our common humanity is stronger than the divisiveness of our fears and prejudices. To translate this vision into concrete reality, we need leadership that addresses even the most difficult and unpopular issues, not for short-term political gain, but for humanity's shared future. There is still time to make the right choices to turn back the hands of the Doomsday Clock. In Colombia we say, cada segundo cuenta. Every second counts. Let us use each one wisely. I thank you.
God bless everybody. Stay safe. Stay warm. Like and subscribe. And we'll see you in the next one, my friends.